define love for us?
Defining love. Let's look at the various forms of expression that love is finding, first of all. For most people in the world, love is just a mutual benefit scheme. Okay. People have different kinds of needs, physical, psychological, emotional, social, financial, so various types of needs. To fulfill these needs, I love you is always a good mantra. Without that mantra, many doors will not open for you. So that's one level of thing. But fundamentally, what is this that we're calling as love? Somewhere, the way the human being is right now, no matter where he is in his life, no matter what he is, what he's achieved, somewhere there is a sense of insufficiency. It's not enough the way he is. The way he is right now is not enough. He wants to include something else as a part of himself, to make himself more complete. So love is a huge longing to include the other as a part of yourself. If this longing to include the other as a part of oneself, when it finds an emotional expression, we are calling this love. If this longing to include the other as a part of yourself finds a basic physical expression, we call this sex. If this finds a mental expression, it gets labeled as greed, ambition, whatever. All these are just efforts to include something else as a part of yourself, isn't it? That which is not you right now, you want it to become you. This is the longing of love. So, it is just an emotional expression of the same longing which a human being is constantly longing for, to include something else as a part of himself. This starts from gathering simple things around him to seeking spirituality or God, the same longing to include something else as a part of himself. The fundamental longing to have a larger slice of life than what you have right now. That is a longing, isn't it? Somehow the way it is not enough. You want to experience life little more than the way it is right now. So this longing to include the other as a part of yourself is love. Emotionally, how much ever you make this effort, you get close to that, you're almost there many moments, but next moment it falls down. It doesn't matter how intensely you approach it, you will see you're almost there and it falls apart. You're almost there, it falls apart. So, it gives you a taste of oneness, but never establishes you there. So, love is just a vehicle for oneness. What you're longing for is that oneness. Emotion or love is just one more vehicle to get there. But it is a vehicle which takes you close to the other bank and turns you around, close to the other bank and turns you around, never lands you there. So, when you get sufficiently mauled by the process of love, you will be ready for grace. What is called as grace? Anything that I say will be misunderstood because what is not logical and physical cannot be put into language. If we want to use an analogy, gravity is one aspect of life. We are sticking to the planet right now because of gravity, otherwise we would be floating all over the place. We have a body today only because of gravity, otherwise we couldn't gather this body itself. So gravity is one aspect of life which, in a way, is related to the fundamental instinct of self-preservation in a human being. There are two basic forces within you which are constantly functioning, which seem to be in conflict with most people. It is not in conflict, but most people see it as in conflict. One is the instinct of self-preservation, which compels you to build walls around yourself to protect yourself. Another part of you is longing to constantly expand. One is trying to build walls, another is trying to expand. The walls of self-preservation that you build for today are the walls of self-imprisonment of tomorrow, isn't it? Isn't it so? Many limitations you establish in your life as a protection for yourself, tomorrow you feel they're imprisoning you and you want to break it and build a bigger prison for yourself. But day after tomorrow, the same big prison feels like a restriction and you want to break it and go to the next stage. So these two longings, one is to preserve yourself, another is to continuously expand. These two things are not opposing forces, these two things are related to two different aspects of who you are. Self-preservation needs to be limited to the physical body. It's only your body which needs to be preserved. Everything else can be mauled and demolished and rebuilt every day. Every day in the morning you can actually get up and build a whole new personality if you want. But right now, your instinct of self-preservation has extended itself to the very way you think, feel and understand life, isn't it? All the time you're trying to protect that. But self-preservation should be limited only to the physical body. Only the body needs preservation. Everything else can be reshaped and recreated as you wish, any moment of your life. So these two forces, because they're in conflict or they seem to be in conflict, there is a whole problem about all these things that we need systems and systems to speak spiritual processes. If one's instinct of self-preservation, one learns to keep it just within the body and not extend it to other aspects of life, every human being in the planet will be naturally spiritual, will naturally get to his ultimate nature. Only because he is restraining it, because his instinct of self-preservation always tells him, this is not safe, that is not safe. Only body has to be preserved. Everything else is open to everything else, isn't it? That's how it should be. But right now, the way you think, the way you feel, your values, your morals, your ideologies, your religion, all these things need to be preserved. Now, in this, there can be no expansion. Suddenly there seems to be a conflict.
You were talking about love and grace, can you elaborate that a bit more?
So if we have to use an analogy, gravity and grace, let's put them as opposites. Gravity is trying to hold you down, grace is something that is trying to lift you up. This is only an analogy, because grace cannot be explained that way. If you're released from the physical forces of existence, then grace bursts forth in your life. It is not that grace has to come, always in your calendars and pictures you saw grace is coming as a few rays of light and reaching a particular person. It is not so. As gravity is active, grace is constantly active. It is just that you have to make yourself available to it. With gravity you have no choice, anyway you're available to it. But with grace, you have to make yourself receptive and available to the forces of grace. So all the work, whatever kind of spiritual work you do, whether you do prayer or puja or asana, pranayam or whatever you do, ultimately you are just working towards making yourself available to the force of grace. Because without grace, you won't be lifted up. Which way you approach it depends upon what you're exposed to, what kind of a person you are. But whatever you're doing, you're just making yourself fit enough to be available to grace.
What yoga practices you performed by which you got this kind of ecstatic and blissful experience?
I told you they were very simple and physical, nothing spiritual about it. But what you need to understand is, if something larger has to happen, it's very important that… See, right now what you consider as myself is just these four elements. Your physical body, your mind, your emotion and the life energy which makes these things happen. These are the four components which you call as myself, isn't it? If you want something bigger to happen, you must put these four things in proper alignment. So all yoga is structured and designed to put these four dimensions in absolute alignment. So these four dimensions of body, mind, emotion and energy means head, heart, hands and energy. Is there anybody here who's only head, not heart, not hands, not energy? You're a combination of these four things, isn't it?
So you need these four basic yogas. There are only four yogas. They are known as Gnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga and Kriya Yoga. Gnan means if you employ your intelligence to reach your ultimate nature, it's called Gnana Yoga. If you employ your emotion to reach your ultimate nature, we call it Bhakti Yoga. If you employ your body to reach your ultimate nature or action, we call it Karma Yoga. If you transform your inner energies and reach your ultimate nature, it's called Kriya Yoga. These are the only four ways. But which one shall I take? There is no such choice, because you are a combination of all these four. You have to employ them in right proportion. Now in this person, the head may be dominant, in that person, the heart may be dominant, in that person, the body may be dominant. Accordingly, a right mixture has to be done, otherwise it won't happen. There's a very beautiful story in the yogic lore. Are you okay for stories? On a certain day, 4 men were walking in the forest. One is a Gnana yogi, another is a Bhakti yogi, another is a Kriya yogi, another is a Karma yogi. Usually these 4 people can never be together because they can't stand each other. A Gnana yogi, who is you employing his intelligence, has great disdain for everybody. He thinks everybody is an utter fool, especially these bhakti people who are looking up and saying Ram Ram, he can't stand them at all. Yes? Yes or no? Bhakti people, they have sympathy for everyone. When God is here, instead of just holding his hand and walking all this hair splitting and nonsense, this yoga standing on your head, holding your breath, twisting your body, just utter nonsense. Just call for God's help and it will happen. Karma yogi thinks all these idiots are just lazy. To cover up their laziness, they've invented all these stupid yogas. Kriya yogi has absolute disdain for everybody because after all, the whole life is energy. If you don't transform the energy, where is the way? So these 4 people can never get along together. But today they were walking together. Suddenly, a rainstorm broke loose. So they started running looking for shelter. Because the Bhakti yogi knows the geography of temples, he said, in this direction in the forest there's an ancient temple, let's go there and get some shelter. They all ran there. They know all the geography of temples in the country. So they ran and then they found the temple. The temple was in a dilapidated condition. Just the roof and 4 columns were there were no walls, all gone long ago. The storm became more and more severe and started lashing from every direction, so they went closer and closer. In the center of the temple there is a lingam or whatever is a symbol of Shiva. They had no other place to sit to escape the storm, so they just hugged the lingam and sat, all 4 of them. Not out of any love for God or anything, just to escape the storm. Suddenly God appeared. In all their 4 minds, the immediate question was, why now? So much yoga we did, so much sadhana we did, you did not come. Just now, when we're just trying to escape the storm, here you are, why? So God said, at last you 4 idiots got together. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. This is the biggest problem. If these 4 dimensions are not in alignment, nothing big can happen. You're trying to drive your car, one wheel pointed this way, one wheel pointed this way. You know what a torture you will be? That is the torture right now that you see in people. Their mind is this way, their heart is this way, their body is somewhere else, their energy is somewhere else. How do you expect them to travel smoothly to any destination for that matter? Yoga, what we are referring to as inner engineering, is just to align these 4 wheels in such a way that you travel smoothly. Right now, you're in the direction of hell, it doesn't matter. Once your car is going well, you can just make a U-turn in no time, isn't it? But you have this torture of a vehicle where 4 wheels are pointing in 4 different directions, which way will you go? You cannot go any way, you will just get sucked in and pushed by situations. Your direction is not decided by you, your direction is decided by the situations in which you live. That is the life of a slave, isn't it?
Dear Guruji, can you tell something about the Dhyanlingam temple?
Dhyana linga. You heard about Dhyana linga? No? Not at all? First of all, what is a linga? The word linga literally means the form. Why we are saying the form is, when this existence… Today, you know, modern science is telling you the whole existence is just energy. Yes, the same energy. You know this? You know this or no? The modern science is proving to you beyond any doubt that the whole existence is just one energy manifesting itself in million different ways. Your religions, whichever religion you belong to, has always been insisting God is everywhere. Whether you say God is everywhere or everything is one energy, is it any different? Same reality? Is it so? When Einstein says E is equal to mc squared, he is just proving this to you, that the whole existence is just the same energy. He likes to call it E, we call it Ishvara. He likes to call him by the initial, we give him a name. But we are saying the same thing, isn't it? Now, linga means when the unmanifest energy begins to find manifestation, the first form that it takes is always a perfect ellipsoid. You know what's an ellipsoid? An ellipse, you know what's an ellipse? A three-dimensional ellipse is a ellipsoid. It is based on this that the linga making came. Linga means a perfect ellipsoid. In yoga, in the yogic sciences, we have always been aware that the first form is linga and the final form is also linga. If you raise into a certain pitch of meditation within you, before a point… when you come to a point where you're on the verge of dissolution, the final form that you take is also the form of an ellipsoid, which is a linga. So linga is seen as a doorway from both sides, from unmanifest to manifest and from manifest to unmanifest. The first and the last form in creation is linga. Today, modern cosmologists have taken pictures of various galaxies and they are saying, the core of every galaxy is an ellipsoid. Because the first form is always an ellipsoid and the final form is always also an ellipsoid. So this is what is known as a linga. Say, for example, this paper, you hold this paper in your hand, then you give it to me. I will hold it in my hands just for 10–20 seconds and give it back to you. You will see this piece of paper will feel different in your hands. I will energize this paper in such a way that it will feel very different in your hands. But within a few minutes, once again this will be just a piece of paper. You can energize any object, but once again it will become the same. But the form of a linga, if you make it with the right material, with proper understanding of what it is and energize it, it becomes a perennial storehouse of energy, where people can make use of it for their well-being in different levels. Dhyana linga is unique because it has all the 7 basic manifestations of life in it. It is like a live person. It is the energy body of a live person. Only the physical body is missing. Dhyana linga temple is in 100% silence. There are no rituals, there are no pujas. You just sit there quietly. No belief system. If you simply sit there quietly, even if you do not know what is meditation, without a single instruction, you will become meditative. It is a very powerful space, it will shake you from the root of your spine. It is very powerful space. Even architecturally, it's quite a unique place in many ways. People from all religious groups, from various parts of the world come here because it's purely meditative space. It is like whoever you are, whatever you are, You can take in a seed of spiritual process into you without an instruction, just being in the space of the linga. There is a whole science as to how to create this. This was a science that was well understood and practiced in this culture, but it got disturbed when the bhakti movement swept the country. When bhaktas, earlier temples were built as a science, as a place that you can go, sit and make use of. If you do not know this, Indian temples have never been a place of prayer. Nobody leads the prayer. You are supposed to sit there for some time. Have they told you this traditionally? You go to the temple, you're required to sit there for some time. Is it so? Have they told you? No? They have told you. Because if you create certain parameters, the size and shape of the idol, the mudra that the idol holds, the mantras that you use for it, the size and shape of the sanctum sanctorium, the size and shape of the parikrama, all these things, if they're properly matched and created, it becomes a powerful field of energy. Morning, first thing in the morning, you have a bath, you go sit in the temple, then go out into the world. It is like a public battery charging place. And the traditions also say that once you are on a spiritual path, you need not go to the temple every day. Are you aware of this? A householder should go to the temple every day. A person on the spiritual path need not go to the temple every day because now he's got his own self-charging methods. If you don't have self-charging methods, there was a public charging place for you to charge yourself. But when the bhakta started building the temple, a devotee does not care for science. A devotee grows with just the strength of his emotion. His emotion is everything for him. When such people started building temples, they just started building it whichever way they like. Because a devotee is like a lover, he just wants to do whatever he feels like to his God. So they started building temples whichever way they like. Anybody who had a piece of stone and a chisel, they started making lingams, so they became too many. Otherwise, this is a very deep science of creating human well-being in a completely different dimension. Now that you asked this question, I would like to take this opportunity that if you have already not been there, you must visit this place. We are at the foothills of Velangiri Mountains, about 30 kilometers from Coimbatore. It's a place that you must experience in your life.